Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. Gonna post a couple videos this afternoon actually. I finally got a moment to get to some of the contest response I've been wanting to do, and I'm gonna start by doing a response to a Bill of the Vinylverse, his 300 subscribers contest. Um, yeah, kind of a nice simple contest, which is nice. I do love those. But definitely one that was kind of fun to go through the process and just kind of think back on the question that he asked. And I believe it's called Through the Years, I think is what he labeled the contest as. And he basically said just kind of pick 4 years, different significant time points in your life, and just kind of show an album from that year, so to speak. So that's what I did. I kind of thought about a few and came up with a couple answers. On a couple of the years, I did pull out 2 albums just because. I mean, no advantage, so why not? But yeah, and even on these two, let me stress, I'm not necessarily picking my favorite albums from those years, but just kind of, these are albums I think that really should be associated with those years. I think it just kind of has a nice little importance in that regard. So let me kind of jump right in. Let's see, the year I was born. I was born in '73, and I know I don't look it because I still look good, but yeah, definitely getting older, that's for sure. So there were 2 albums I picked for that. One, nothing to say about that. Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, absolute classic album there. As classic as it is, I mean, it's kind of shocking that I never even liked this album or paid any attention to it for the most part until just about 6 or 7 years ago. And now it's like my favorite. But yeah, Ziggy Stardust, that's a classic that everyone knows. And I just couldn't refrain. I mean, I kind of, you have to show this if you're going to talk about that year. Sorry about all the glare there. But yeah, Dark Side of the Moon, that's one that you have to mention when referencing that year. Jeez. Way too much glare, I can't get out of there. There we go. So yeah, those are the 2 that I would say some special things were going on the year I was born. The next significant year, which I would say was about 10 years later when, and I've told this story before, I'll give the other quick short version because I never get tired of telling it. But another very significant year was I grew up in a small town, east side of town, which is basically kind of the wrong side of the tracks, project, the whole nine. And my dad got a job teaching as a professor, moved us a couple of states away, and like overnight we went from the wrong side of the tracks to the other side of the tracks, right? And so I think it was pretty significant in that regard because, everything I had known in my world up to that point in time, again, up to being a 10-year-old child, just changed like overnight. Like we moved in the middle of the school year, so there was no adjustment, no whatever. It was pack up the U-Haul, we moved. Day or 2 later, I'm in a new school and the whole nine. And nobody in that school looks like me. Nobody in that school has my background or any of that. So, and it was nothing negative happened whatsoever. It was just, that overall shock. And so that was a pretty significant year for me, I think, especially musically, because that's the part of the story I've actually told a couple of times. Because, again, moving into this new neighborhood, these new friends, they had not heard of any of the music that I liked. And of course, I had never heard of any of the music that they liked. So they were the ones like, oh, really? You never heard of Queen? You never heard of The Who? You never heard of Led Zeppelin? You never heard of Twisted Sister? You never heard of Van Halen, AC/DC? And then all of a sudden it was just, boom, 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 overload. So that year was 1983. And so the one album that I want to kind of show to represent that, and I pulled out this cassette instead of the vinyl, is Billy Idol's Rebel Yell. Because this was the first album that I ever bought out of a store in 1983. And actually, my parents bought it for me. And this is the exact copy that they bought. I mean, I've had this for many freaking years. But yeah, that was a very significant year for me. And you would think the move, the culture shock, if you will, would have been the significance. But the significance of that year really was the music. That is the significance. Because everything that you guys may have seen from me or heard from me or whatever thoughts you have about, who Mr. Hall of Fame is and all of that, every single bit of that, quite frankly, 90% of that spawns from the first 6 months after that move. because, like I said, I was just inundated with so much music and just new things in that first 6 months. And I always think about that Billy Idol Rebel Yell, because the first time I ever saw MTV, when I didn't know what MTV was, I was cleaning, saw Billy Idol's face on TV, and I just thought, that's a cool looking freaking dude. I need to see what the heck this is. And I sat down and I turned on the volume, and it was the Eyes Without a Face video. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was the first MTV video I ever watched. And the rest of the day, I was just sitting right in front of that TV, and it was just the new wave stuff was just boom, 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 boom. I think the second video that came on right after that was With or Without You by U2. And I mean, so again, you can imagine having all of that coming in at one time. So you have MTV throwing that at you, then you have your friends throwing AC/DC, Kiss, and all this other stuff at you. And that was just 6 months of pure heaven. So 83 was definitely a very significant year for me. So moving right along, I mean, high school, going to high school and all that, definitely, you know, very significant stuff. But I kind of thought, you know, college was probably the next significant year, you know, leaving home for the first time and all that good stuff. And so college for me was 91, 92. That was my college year. So what I kind of picked for that was a couple of things. 4 Non-Blondes. Definitely a good album to kind of represent that 91, 92 time period. Because again, when I think about that 91, 92, I think about, you know, that's when the Atlanta Morissette and Live and all that stuff, that really kind of, you know, that's what all came to me in college. Even New Order, even though they were a bit older at that time, still, I discovered New Order in those college years as well. But yeah, 4 Non-Blondes, definitely a good representation of kind of 91, 92. And I thought this one's also another good one, Public Enemy. Apocalypse 91, Enemy Strikes Black. Again, I remember my first few weeks at college. This was an album that we played out to no end. You know, Can't Trust It, Shut 'Em Down. Bring the Noise with Anthrax is on this album. So yeah, just a lot of good memories kind of wrapped into that 91, 92 year, that first year of college. So really good stuff there. And then for the fourth significant year, I kind of thought, well, after college, you know, you graduate, and for the first time, you are completely on your own. You know, you're paying your own rent, you're paying your own car payment, you're paying your own everything, and you truly are an adult. And you start to realize, oh, that's what my parents meant when they said, if you're gonna live in my house, my rules, I pay the bills. Like, yeah, you finally understood what it really meant. So again, for me, when looking at, you know, coming out of college, that was 95, 96, because I'm kind of talking college year. And so one of the things that I did when I first graduated was I thought, well, maybe before I kind of dive into the real world, I'll go kind of maybe do a fun job, you know, before the real world has to kick in. So I'd always wanted to work at a gym. So I started working as a personal trainer, and didn't realize that actually, you know, there was some good money inside of that, and it actually did turn into a real job. And I had a really good 7 or 8 years working at the gym before I left to start my own practice. So yeah, one of the things that I remember is, as far as albums that represent that kind of 95, 96 time period, I think more specifically 96, is the Wallflowers. Bringing Down the Horse. I think that, you know, their big hit was One Headlight, and that's kind of the song that I really remember from that time period. Fifth Avenue Heartbreak on here is also pretty good, but a couple other tracks too. But this album really sticks out to me because the one thing I remember about that gym is, unlike gyms today where they have, you know, you go in there, all the flat screen TVs, and they have like all this information scrolling, and they're playing, quite frankly, a bunch of crappy music that I don't even know if anybody knows. It's just like typical gym style music, I guess, to them. But back then, it used to all come through the cable system. So you just basically selected the music channel that you wanted, and that's what it played. It played a lot of just more common songs, if you will. And so Stephanie, I'll never forget that, she worked at our front desk. I would be on the floor training or whatever, and the gym was like a 4-floor thing. So if I ever heard a song that I wanted to know the artist or whatever, she could take the remote and you would zap it, and it just gave you a reading on the remote to say who the artist and the song title was. So, you know, so I'd be up on the floor or whatever, and something would come on, and I would say, Steph, zap it. And she would zap it and write down the name. At the end of the day, I'd have like 5 or 6 names of CDs I wanted to go try to find or whatever. But the one that just kind of really sticks out is just that one headlight. I just remember that song playing all the time, and it just kind of got beat into your head. And that was one of the ones I originally had asked her to zap. So that album definitely kind of covers that 1996 time period extremely well in terms of that significant time in my life. So since then, you know, life's just been life. but no, great contest, man. Good question there. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, congratulations on the 300 subs. And here's to your 500 subs video, which I'm sure we'll be doing really soon. All right, take care, man. Have a good one.